Happy Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to the 3-minute pre-show. I should get a comedy act to come on and warm you all up. Warm up the audience time. So that's all this is. It's just the pre-show. Making sure we're all set up. Making sure that's on with the stream. And the mic's set. All my settings are good. Boom, boom, bada boom. Hey, Steph. Good to see you. Uncle Dave. Good to see you as well. And Susie Q. Nice to have you here. And Grumpy Stack. Hi and bye. You're stopping in? You're leaving? Way to go. I need my money's worth, Grumpy. So, what do we got? We got about 2 minutes left and we go live. Chuck Thurston, ghosts, my favorite topic, subject. Well, we're going to do a little devil's advocate from the other side tonight, mixed in with other things, and talk about what science wants you to think about why we see ghosts and spirits. And we're going to get into some other things too. We'll see how much time we have, but we can spread that talk all over into the Captain's Cabin after the show. Sarah Youssef, good to see you. Making sure the lights are good here. They're as good as they're going to get for the moment. Man, need my glasses today. Been staring. And when I stare at my computer most of the day, my eyes get wonky. And I can't read. Well, I can read it, but you know how it is. Everything's perfect. Everything's there. All the colors are bright and all that. It's just a little fuzzy, a little cloudy. And then I blink a couple times and it's fine. Weird. Anita Palmer, welcome to the show. We're in the pre-show still. We got about 40 seconds and we go live. So this is just a warm-up. Speaking of warming up, it was over 50 degrees here. And it's going to be almost 80 by Tuesday. How about that? How's them apples? 1 week to the day after our big storm hit us with a foot of snow. So, but that's spring in Minnesota, Wisconsin. All right, we got about 8 seconds. We're going to go dark. We'll be live. Stay tuned.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Happy Friday evening, folks. Welcome to the program, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Subspace Subspace Odyssey radio. What do you get when you put together Odyssey and radio? You get audio. So welcome to the program. And we have recently repurchased, or Russ has, Odyssey radio. So Subspace radio is now Odyssey radio. And you can hear this show in its audio format if you go over to subspace.radio or if you go over to odysseyradiocom. And that's ODYSY. It's the wrong spelling of the word. And there's a reason for that. odysseyrradio.com. And you can hear this show in its audio format. Plus, you can see the lineup of all the other shows that are out there in our lineup. And you can go over to my Facebook page, and you can see all the different places you can pick this show up on Facebook. And you can also go over to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join the fellow Intrepids over there in the chat room, where you can see all kinds of conversation going on over there. And if you are seeing the chat over on the Facebook channels, there's some kind of little wonky tech thing with Facebook. You don't see all the chat that's going on, that goes on primarily over on the YouTube page. So go over to YouTube and you can pick up the whole chat and you can chat with everybody else that's over there. And I said hello to a bunch of the people that are here. I appreciate you all being here. Chuck Thurston commented on something here, which is really kind of what we're doing with the topic of the show tonight. He said, science likes things that are repeatable and proven. That's pretty much never going to happen when it comes to ghosts. We've collected a lot of evidence, but it's far from proof. And you know what science does? It tells us that our evidence isn't really evidence because it's not the same kind of scientific methodology. I said often when I was talking with critics about my writings on the Nephilim is that you can't take a Nephilim, first of all, find one, then take them and bring them into the lab and have them reproduce. It's just not going to happen. And so you can't apply the scientific methodology. But what I said, and Chuck, this will appeal to you, I think, too, and everybody else listening, is that ghosts and spirits, while we cannot bring them into the lab or conduct some kind of controlled scientific methodology, the scientific methodology is housed in the fact that you have evidence that keeps repeating itself. And this has been going on for thousands of years. And what science wants to try to do is explain away anything external to the mind as being something our mind creates. Not quite as far as to say this is a tulpa where you've created an entity out of your mind, but that what we experience in haunted houses, ghosts, spirit encounters, things like that are all things that come from our mind. And I'm going to pick that apart a little bit tonight as we go into this. I got to put on my glasses. Man, I am, sometimes my eyes are good. Sometimes my eyes are bad. Just up and down, up and down, up and down. So come on over, said Sarah. We don't bite much. Stop that flirting now, Sarah. And technically, she said, I guess Jesus could be considered a Nephilim in a way. Well, that's interesting you say that. I won't get into this topic tonight, but I have said before that Jesus, much like Nakosh in the Garden of Eden, he was one of the Elohim. He was one of the princes of heaven. And I thought, is Jesus the same kind of thing? Except he became somehow converted over into that only begotten Son of the Father. So it's an interesting topic that once again, one of these days we'll retouch on from a different angle. And I've always wondered too about a thought occurred to me while I was looking up this information today and I was researching. Steph, I just nibbled to start off. Woohoo! Way to go, Steph. Cuervo Queen. And so what I was thinking of was when you talk about demonic possession, isn't that really spirit possession? And so when Christianity talks about being filled with the Spirit and living a life that is Holy Spirit indwelt, you're indwelt by the Holy Spirit of God. Is that the same kind of thing? Only one has a positive light and one has a negative light attached to it? That's very interesting stuff, and it's worth looking into. Hey, Anita Palmer, good to see you. If I didn't say hi already. Barbie D, good to see you over there in the chat room. Everybody's joining up and hustling in, so it's good to see you. I want you to look at the banner if you're watching the video. You can see the banner around me. I've done a couple of alterations to it, added two different things. One way up there in that corner and one way down there in that corner. First of all, our sponsor, Fairy Legs. Go to fairylegs.com. Ladies, women, if you like wearing leggings, which a lot of women do, it's not just for working out anymore. Go over to fairylegs.com. That's simple. Or go to Instagram, if you're on Instagram, to @fairylegsshop. And you can see all the different designs they have. About 100 of them are up there right now. And you can see all the designs and see if there might be something that appeals to you. And right now, there is a sprung to spring or something like that little special they have going on that'll give you 10% off anything on the website. So you can go look at it on the Instagram. You can go over to the website, check it out. And I think they're working up a special that's something about buy 2 or more leggings and get a huge percentage off for your third pair. So we'll see. they get that to me, we'll talk about it. So go over to fairylegs.com. That's right over there. No, right over there. I'm looking in reverse in the mirror. Fairylegs. The link, there's no link attached to it. It's just the picture. Then, of course, up there, we've got Patriot Propaganda Apparel. Now, that's my company along with a couple of partners that are in radio and IT. They're doing all the business end of that company. I'm doing all the art. And you've seen some stuff I presented here before. Go check out patriotpropagandaapparel.com. And I'm not quite sure if the site is actually up. I know it's going to launch. They've been saying for a week we're going to get this thing launched. But there's still some things they're working on. I'm looking. I can go over to Patriot Apparel, patriotpropagandaapparel.com, and I can see the website. But I don't know if that's just because I'm logged into it or signed in or what. So go take a peek at that, and you can see what we're all about over there and see the shirts that we're doing. And so that's all the announcements I got up front. So let's kind of dig into it here, because I want to talk about this with you. I want to get your thoughts too. We won't take calls until the captain's cabin, but I want you to save your thoughts. And I was looking at an article over on livescience.com. Good site, good scientific site, good science over there. But of course, as with most of the scientific type of sites, Live Science, Scientific American, all of those, they all, when they approach the paranormal, they approach it with a skeptical, and I don't mean just a healthy skeptical, the skeptical kind of reasoning that says, well, obviously this doesn't exist, so we're going to present not a skeptical mindset about it. We're going to present a denier's mindset about it. They try to be fair, I will say that, but they always end up coming out with everything paranormal comes right out of your head. And that's their basic explanation. They've got a quote here at the beginning of this article, and it's Shirley Jackson said this in The Haunting of Hill House, the 1959 movie. She said, "No live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed by some to dream. Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against its hills, holding darkness within. It had stood for 80 years and might stand for 80 more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone." Now, of all the paranormal phenomena that surrounds us, the haunted house phenomenon might be the last to inspire real fear. Witches haven't been scary since the days of Salem. Zombies? Fun makeup, but a bit campy, right? Vampires. Blame sparkly Robert Pattinson, who's now Batman, by the way, for taking the bite out of those bloodsuckers. But the haunted house is something that sends chills up the spine of the staunchest non-believer. We have so many shows out there on television, of course. Some are okay, some are good, some are fails. Some of the internet shows are the best ones you'll find. But haunted houses that really are, I saw one person's explanation. It was with, if you remember, Nick Groff. He was Zach Bagans' original partner in Ghost Adventures years ago. And he was the one, "Don't run!" Zach is yelling in the opening of the show, in the old version of the show, at the Goldfield Inn or something. And but he's got a new internet series he's been doing. It's not syndicated. And his internet series, he has his wife on with him sometimes. I don't even remember what it's called. Just look up Nick Groff and haunted houses and things like that. And he was talking to a guy that said, "I'm not so sure," he says, "I believe that ghosts haunt houses, although they can appear there." He says, "I'm more a believer that the haunted, or that the house itself becomes an entity. You build a house, you create this house. Are you creating a being? It's kind of like, remember earlier in the week when we talked about the possibility of sentient, conscious AI, artificial intelligence out there. Those are things that people have built. Well, what about a house in an older fashioned way? Can a house be something that contains a spirit or develops its own spirit? That's a good question. And ghost stories tend to happen to the unsuspecting. And who's to say they might not happen to you? They're passed around by word of mouth, often by trustworthy sources. And nowadays, the internet expands this whole oral tradition to almost anyone. Witness what's going on out there with haunted houses. Look at this. Look at the sound we got, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that. Now, I've experienced a lot of things in what I would term haunted houses. And the first thing I think when science tries to explain away my experience of ghosts or spirits, I'm going to tell you something. It ain't my mind making shit up. I don't need to see a ghost so bad that I will tap into all the stories I've heard to see what's up. Now, around here, this house, things all the time. There's been stuff in every house we've been in. Now, my approach tends to be one of, okay, if you're here, if there's something here and I'm not just hearing things or creaking floorboards or whatever, a pop in the dark or whatever it might be, I get that sometimes in the middle of the night. The other night, I heard a big pop. And I sat up and I went, and I was sleeping. I went, what the hell was that? No idea. So you hear stuff, you see stuff. Then something's thumping on the door, the bedroom door. It's not a kid. Then you find out, it's the cat trying to get in. And so all these things, we've all experienced stuff, but I've also experienced things that are beyond the normal thump or tap or squeak or creak. I've had things whisper in my ear. Did I create that in my mind? When I'm just standing there, I'm going, hey, let's walk down this hall and take a look down here. Don't go down there. Get out. Or whatever. My friend Lisa, when she went ghost hunting with Rainey and I, she had some guy at one of the hotels in Minnesota, old hotel, that whispered in her ear something like get out of here, bitch. And she heard that outright. Now, none of us heard it. She did. She also felt somebody tug on her arm. Now, when those things happen, is our mind creating that based on things that we've seen in horror movies or read or stories we've heard in oral tradition and so on? And so if ghosts aren't to blame for things that go bump, what might be? Because science, of course, counsels skepticism toward the idea of spirits and spooks. And I want to ask, why? Why do they want to counsel skepticism towards ghosts and spirits? Now, as I've said many times, you can be two different kinds of skeptic. You can be a skeptic that I call it the big S skeptic and the small S skeptic. The big S is the denier. Nope, that's not so. Never happened. We got to explain it away with science. The small S skeptic is one that says, I don't know if I believe that. You're going to have to give me the evidence and prove it to me. And I've taken guys on ghost adventures, ghost hunts, and or paranormal investigations. If you want to be hoity-toity about it, we're all doing the same thing. We're all looking for ghosts. And I've taken diehard skeptics who have experienced things. And I say, you know what? My experience trumps your skepticism 99 times out of 10. So if ghosts aren't real, if ghosts aren't to blame for things that go bump in the night, what is? And there's been research that's investigated culprits like electromagnetic fields, infrared sound below the range of human hearing. The ultimate source of hauntings may just be that 3-pound organ between our ears, the brain. And so you got to look at this through the skeptical eye, but then be skeptical of the skeptics. Because I believe the skeptics aren't just out there saying, well, these might exist. The diehard skeptics in the scientific community are ones that want to explain it by chemical reaction. They want to, in your brain, they want to explain it by you are manifesting things or think you're seeing things, and maybe you really are because your brain is creating it in your conscious state. And so one plausible explanation they give for haunted houses is that people are responding to something in the environment, but that something is far more mundane than ghosts or restless spirits, so says the scientist. And a possible culprit is infrasound, or sounds just below the technical human hearing threshold of 20 hertz. And back in 1998, Vic Tandy, he was a researcher at Coventry University in England. He joined with fellow Coventry professor Tony Lawrence to write a paper based on Tandy's own spooky experiences at a medical equipment manufacturing shop. And on occasion, employees reported spooky sensations and the feeling of a presence in the room. And Tandy dismissed all of this until one night when he began to feel cold and gloomy. And after checking that none of the medical gas bottles were leaking, he sat back at his desk, only to see a gray figure emerge in the corner of his vision. And when he summoned the courage to look the apparition directly in the face, it, of course, faded away. We all experienced that. Now, a subsequent experience while cutting metal led Tandy to wonder if sound energy was causing his and his colleagues' inexplicable experiences. Sound energy. Now, after a particular fan in the building was switched off, the ghosts disappeared. And the researchers wrote in 1998 about this in the Journal of the Society for Psychic Research. Now, proving this notion has been more difficult. Oh, I turned off the fan and suddenly the ghost stopped. Well, does that prove that the fan was emitting something that made somebody see a ghost? So, hey, Ryan Gale. Good to see you, brother. And Carly Sagan. Nice to see you, darling. And so proving the notion's been a lot more difficult. Lots of things create infrasound, from wind gusts of air conditioners to earthquakes. So in one experiment, researchers used hidden infrasound generators during ghost tours given at Mary King's Close in Edinburgh and in Scotland. And the close is now underground. But in the 1600s, it was a series of narrow alleyways and passages through tall buildings. Local legend tells of plague victims bricked into walls down there. And during a city ghost festival in 2007, some unsuspecting tour groups were blasted with infrasound as they roamed these creepy passageways. So, in other words, scientists were experimenting on them without telling them that. Blasted them with infrasound, and the results revealed no difference in the number of people who reported a paranormal experience, whether they'd been exposed to infrasound or to the ambient noise. However, the infrasound exposed groups did report a greater overall number of spooky experiences, with more people reporting multiple such experiences. And meanwhile, 20% of those in the infrared or the infrasound groups reported feeling the temperature rise during their tours, compared with only 5% in the ambient noise group. And so those are preliminary results. And it was hardly a ringing endorsement of the notion that ghosts and ghouls are simply sounds below the threshold of the human ear. After all, people in haunted houses usually report cold spots, hot feelings of excessive warmth, etc. And it's not clear why infrasound would lend to an increase in spooky experiences per person, but not more people reporting spooky experiences. How about that? How about electrifying chills? I can walk down here into the studio or into the master bedroom, and downstairs here, it's about 15 degrees cooler than other parts of the house. Now we got heat vents and stuff, but it's a basement. And so it's always cooler down here. I'm gauging 15 degrees difference. Maybe it's only 10. But you go from upstairs to down here, and of course, heat rises. The upstairs is always cozy. The downstairs is always cold. That's why I have a heater over there. Even though it was in the 50s today, it's still cold down here today. So another unnatural explanation for ghosts might be electromagnetic energy, they say. Spirits may not surround us, but electromagnetic fields generated by power lines and electronic devices certainly do. Could electronics be giving off ghostly vibes? I know my wife is all weirded out by the tower over here on top of the water tower, the G5 antennas up there, and she sees that our it's not the electromagnetic, it's something else, is all increased and wonky, and she thinks that makes people see things. She wonders it's health wise and so on. And there's some credence to that. But I haven't noticed any particular increase in spiritual types of activity due to that, even though the electromagnetic meter might go off or something like that. So I haven't really noticed any concerted difference because of that. So are they giving off the ghostly vibes, those kinds of things? A few small experiments suggest electromagnetic fields might have this effect. And there was cognitive neuroscientist Michael Persinger of Laurentian, there you go, University in Canada. And his colleagues used magnetic fields to stimulate the brain of a 45-year-old man who'd reported various ghostly experiences. And they managed, with the magnetic fields, to conjure up an apparition similar to what the man had seen years before, along with a corresponding rush of fear. And the researchers reported to the journal that this is what happened to this guy, the Journal of Perceptual and Motor Skills. Now, the next year, the same journal, Persinger and his colleagues reported on the strange case of a teenage girl who said she'd been impregnated by the Holy Spirit. The new Immaculate Conception, apparently. And she felt the invisible presence of a baby on her left shoulder. Hey. And the girl had experienced a brain injury earlier in her life, the researchers wrote. But the trauma wasn't the sole reason for the religious visitation. Next to the girl's bed was an electric clock that generated magnetic pulses similar to those used to trigger seizures in epileptic rats. Once the clock was removed, the feelings of a presence vanished. And Persinger and his colleagues argue that some people are particularly prone to disruption of the temporal lobes, which happen to be where the brain synthesizes information. I would ask the converse question: what if, knowingly removing the clock, her mental capacities, her consciousness adapted? The other way around. Now, patients undergoing brain surgery reveal how important the temporal lobes can be to experience of reality. And Christopher French, a psychologist at Goldsmiths College of the University of London, who researches the roots of paranormal experiences, said when surgeons stimulating the part of the brain where the temporal and partial lobes meet, the tempopartial junction, the temporoparietal. Yeah, that place in between the junction that they can actually switch out of body experiences on and off. So what's that all about? Is it all just the brain? Chuck Thurston says old alarm clocks tend to put out a very strong EMF. But French and his colleagues found little evidence that infrasound and electromagnetic fields explain away ghostly apparitions. And he and his team tried to create scientific hauntings by building a chamber in which participants were exposed to 50 minutes of infrasound, complex electromagnetic fields, both or neither. And the participants then reported the sensations they'd experienced during their time in the chamber. And a majority of the people reported some of the weirdness during the experiment. Almost 80% said they'd felt dizzy. Oh, go figure. Half said they felt like they were spinning. 23% felt detached from their body. Is dizzy and spinning different? Curious. I get lightheaded a lot, and I feel dizzy, and I sometimes spin as a result. But it's all kind of the same thing. So the researchers reported in the journal Cortex That notably 23% also said they felt a presence, and 8% felt sheer terror in that room. Now, some of these experiments certainly mimic the feeling of a haunting. Now, is mimicking the feeling you get in a haunting by stimulating certain parts of the brain? Is that the same thing as a haunting? Is that what we're experiencing? Wouldn't you have to be under all the same conditions of the experiment in order to then experience things? But 5% of the participants reported being sexually aroused, for example. He's seeing a ghost, you're getting a boner. Hey, what's this all about? New cure for ED. So, but when the researchers analyzed the data, they realized it didn't matter which experimental condition the participants were in. It made no difference if the electromagnetic fields were on or off, or if the infrasound was booming. And French told Live Science that, however, they did find that the participants' individual levels of suggestibility influenced the results. Now, I have to say, I am somebody who likes to have control of my mind. I think one of the greatest fears I have would be to find myself declining as I get older into a declined sense of having a firm grasp on the operations of my mind. I hope I never lose my mind. And if I do, may it be overnight so I don't notice it. But the most parsimonious explanation is if you just say to suggestible people, go in here and you may have some weird experiences. Some of them do. But you get that anyway. You don't have to have infrasound. You don't have to have electromagnetic fields. You don't have to have anything of that. If you have a suggestible person, if you say to them, you might have a weird experience in there. Most average people, I want you to go spend the night in that room. You might have a weird experience in there. Will they end up having one? Is that power of suggestion enough to pique the brain to be sensitive to those things? Hey, Delaney, good to see you here. Paige, Rockwell Soiree, good to see you. And Elderberry as well. Nice to have all you latecomers coming in. I don't mean latecomers in a negative way, just those of you coming in later. So as French's work suggests, the real cause of hauntings may simply be the human brain. Well, the real cause of hunger is the human brain. Does that mean the human brain is making it up or it's responding to stimuli? The real cause of smelling odors is the brain. The real cause of love is the brain. The real cause of driving a car is the brain. The brain has to make everything function. I realize what he's getting at, but I'm saying if you take that down to the lowest common denominator, everything we experience may simply be the human brain. And in one study published in 1996 in the Journal of Perceptual and Motor Skills, 2 participants asked to keep a diary about poltergeist-like activity in their home for a month. And they suddenly started seeing evidence of potential poltergeist all over the place. In a follow-up paper in the same journal, the study researchers hypothesized that haunting events happen because people misperceive slightly ambiguous events as paranormal, and then they become primed to look out for even more weird stuff. You buy that explanation? I think that that's possible in many cases, but I don't think it's the panacea explanation. It's like, remember when I told you a few months back how I got up one morning and I opened the side door to the garage? This was before winter. It was last fall. And I opened the side door of the garage and there was the Ouija board, an old Ouija board made out of metal, and it was tucked in an old box that had been crushed together. We found this at a garage sale for $1, and I bought it to add to my collection of stuff. I got a couple of those. And it was always, if you open the door of the garage, it was always behind the door, against the wall, stacked with a stack of framed pictures, that we don't have hanging on the walls, just out in the garage. And that particular thing, when you open the side door and I walked outside, It was about 30 feet away from the door, laying out in the grass. And so I looked at that and I told everybody about that. I put up a post about it, a sneakily, ooh, is this paranormal activity type of post, and we talked about it on the show. And still to this day, and my wife denied ever putting it out there. My kids don't go outside at night in the garage. They're creeped out. They don't like going out in the dark with the garage. They won't go outside without mom and dad. Even my 13-year-old boy, he's a little better than the others now that he's getting older, but nobody goes. The point is, I've probably got a pretty good handle on how my family does things and operates. And my first suspicion was that my wife threw it out there. Not as a hoax, but she might have been pissed off. It was in the way, got caught on the door, behind the door, and so she took it and threw it out the door. That's what Rainey will do. She reacts viscerally to things like that. And so I asked her, did you chuck that outside? No. Where was it? She asked. I said, behind the door. Well, maybe it was the wind. I said, well, the wind, why did the wind reach around the door and pick it up and haul around the door and outside and 30 feet down away from the house? So anyway, all that to say, there are things that happen. Ambiguous events can happen. My disappearing keys, which I never did find. No, I take it back. Keys I found. But it was the day before that the ring, my big ring, disappeared. My prayer for protection ring, the St. Benedict ring. That's never turned up. The keys I did find in a sweater pocket, hanging on the door, inside the garage, inside the house, underneath a bunch of coats. So I did find those, but I didn't find the ring that disappeared the day before. So, were any of those haunted experiences, or were they all just common phenomena? The ring disappeared somewhere. Somebody knocked it off the sink. It fell into the garbage can, got thrown. Who knows? We have no idea. But basic personality traits now could make people particularly likely to attribute a bump in the night or a missing ring to a ghost or a ghoul or a poltergeist. And a survey released recently by Chapman University in California found that the more generally fearful a person is, the more likely he or she is to believe in the paranormal. Now, I do not happen to be a particularly fearful person. As a matter of fact, when I was on that ghost investigation almost a month ago, when I went out of town, they've got me on film, and Jimmy Johnson was mocking me a bit for this, teasing me. You got me on film with another guy in a dark room. We got the night vision camera on. And I said, look, if anybody's down here, if you want to come and communicate with us, come on and communicate with us. I said, look, we're right here. We're here to record this. Come on and meet us. Come on. And I said, now you don't have to come out and like lunge at us and like be all spooky or something. I said, you don't have to do that. That was on camera. I said, you don't have to be all spooky or something. I said, just come on out. We already know you're there. So come on out and communicate with us. Now, that's the way I tend to. The only time I get afraid is I'm not really afraid. I'm startled, and I don't like being startled. If I'm laying in bed, like I've said before, I said to a spirit that was in my house, and I know it was real, and I know it was there. It communicated with me. And you know what? I don't need to see shit so badly that I'm going to make up communication. And I'm not so frail mentally that I'm going to make it up. And I don't have a fear box or a electromagnetic room that causes my brain to go wonky. I'm the same guy when this happened as I am when I'm out having a cup of coffee or out driving down the road. I'm the same guy. But, I told the thing, I said, look, if you want to come and communicate with me, you're welcome to. And I said, just don't come and hover over my bed at night. I'll pee my sheets for sure. Not because I'm scared. It's because I'm startled. I don't want to see anybody floating over me in the middle of the night. You could be a sexy, buxom lass bending over me and looking at me at night. I'd probably go, ah! If I woke up, It's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, which leads me to old stories of Rocky asking me on air if I felt that having sex with a ghost was adultery. And I said, I had to think about that for a second. I said, why are you bringing this up? He said, I just want to know. So I said, it all depends. Let's say you're in a Star Trek world on that topic. What if you had sex with a holographic image created? And this is a topic for another night, but popped into my head. If you had sex with a holographic image, you programmed the computer to give you a holographic image that was the prime thing you'd ever want to have sex with. Okay, maybe some of you don't want to have sex, but I'm just saying, if you're having sex with a computer-generated thing, yeah, it's got its obvious problems for infidelity and so on, but is that the same thing? It's worth talking about. Hey, Mayhem and Miracles, good to see you. If you go by another name, I don't know who you are, but it's good to see you here. I'm glad you're here. If this is your first time here, welcome. So, another study published online in the Journal of Consciousness and Cognition in August of 2013, so we're talking 10 years ago, they found that paranormal believers are more likely to believe in the illusion of agency, or that there's a deliberate entity behind an event. So the study was based on, now keep in mind, these are scientists trying to explain why we see ghosts and spirits. They can't just go, well, obviously there's something exists that's beyond the veil that we can pierce with scientific methodology. So there must be something in the brain that's causing it. Now that study was based on a theory that people have evolved to see patterns where none exist. Pareidolia, where you look at the wallpaper and you go, there's a man's face looking at me in the wallpaper pattern. Imagine walking in the woods at night. Researcher Michael van Elk, psychologist at the University of Amsterdam. You hear a rustle in the trees. Do you keep going or do you walk away? Run away. And if you keep going, you might be attacked. If you run away, usually maybe you can outrun whatever might be there. It's better be safe than sorry, said van Elk. But evolutionary theorists suggest that this tendency in humans to attribute events to an entity with agency, meaning active, interactive agency with you, might explain beliefs in ghosts and angels and demons, even God, to a certain extent. And so to test the idea, van Elk went to a psychic street fair and asked psychic believers to watch computer animations of moving points of light. And some of the points were arranged to look like the joints of an invisible stick figure walking. Other dots moved at random. And the participants were asked to determine whether the dots were moving randomly or whether a deliberate agent, a walking person, was behind the motion. And in some cases, additional dancing dots were added in to obscure the random or deliberate dots, making the task a little bit trickier. But both paranormal believers and non-believers were good at telling the difference from movement with agency and random movement when the distinction was clear. But in more ambiguous cases, people with greater paranormal beliefs were more likely to jump to an explanation involving agency than non-believers were. You know what I think they're almost getting at in scientific circles? If you're not as smart as the next guy, you might believe in ghosts. I mean, that's almost what a lot of this sounds like, because it's like most people could tell the difference, except those that had paranormal beliefs. And you can bet your life the guy probably had a scraggly beard and wearing plaid and he got a tooth knocked out and he's drinking Coors Light. And yeah, I see that kind of shit all the time out in my cabin. That's almost what it feels like they're getting at with these things. So that study suggested that falling prey to the illusion of agency, the illusion of it being an actual being intercoursing with you, the illusion of agency could explain belief in the paranormal. A draft in an old house or the creak of wood settling could easily be misconstrued as a ghost. And it isn't clear, however, whether this illusionary agency bias is genetic or learned. And so on and so on and so on, this kind of argumentation goes. Now, what I like is being able to use particular scientific devices to measure whether or not you're actually picking up something. Sarah Yusuf says it's a battle of perspectives. It is to a certain degree. But what if you go in and you say, look, I've heard things, somebody else has heard things. Let's use some equipment and see if we can pick up voices. I like the Spirit Box. I like the GeoPort, if you haven't heard that one. It's an ITC device. I like things like that can give me some kind of solid sound. And when they start talking to you, it's like the Spirit Box experiment I did with my daughter. I've mentioned this before. She was 16, so this is about 15 years ago now. And we're sitting out at our ranch, 40-acre horse ranch out in the middle of the country. And I had a Spirit Box going. And that's where something that said it was my aunt contacted me. And it wasn't like weird EVPs like, oh, did you hear that? That was my grandma saying, how are you doing? It's not that. You get an actual voice. Now, the thing is, there's no microphone to pick up my voice on the Spirit Box, but a voice would respond to me. And just to recap that story, even very short, I heard a woman's voice. I said, is there anybody out there that'd like to talk to us? And a woman's voice came through and said, it's Andy. Andy was my aunt who had passed away, and maybe 10 years earlier. And Andy, my mom's sister, my aunt, yes, crystal clear. My daughter remembers this. Bryn was sitting with me, and went on asking questions, and then it asked me a question coming out of the box. Where's Janie? Janie's my mom, her sister. I said, she's in Arizona. And the voice goes, oh, that's right. Things like that. My daughter, who was 3 when she died, so it was 13 years earlier, my daughter said, do you remember who I am? And the voice came back immediately and said, I see you there. You're pretty now. Things like that. You cannot dismiss those. I like to have devices like that kind of qualify what I think I'm seeing or feeling. I like that because it's a little harder evidence. That to me is evidence. So I have a bunch of other information. There's so much here. It's 44:44 right now, 44 minutes and 44 seconds into the show, which means we've got about 14 minutes left. I got some other things. And there was more to that Scientific American or Live Science article. But what about life after death and the difference between the spirits and the ghosts and how they're tied to our humanity? We have to unpack our fascination with the paranormal. We have to know how the difference between different types of energetic entities and why we create and consume fictional monsters. So it can have different meanings. I'm still here is something. What powerful words. I'm still here. And that can have different meanings depending on your perspective. But the absolute first one that comes to mind, especially as we're setting into a beautiful autumn or, having a cup of coffee or whatever we're doing, raking the leaves, is the energy of those who passed is still here. It's still here with us. Energy doesn't die. So even if our loved ones and our ancestors aren't in the physical world, in physical bodies anyway, their energy is still here. It's eternal. Energy is eternal. It goes on. It does not die. So personally, as a human who's struggled with abandonment in earlier days, and other different things, I'm sure that even for people who haven't had those kinds of things happen to them, the thought of a passed on loved one still being here is comforting. It's warm. It gives hope. I don't take hope in those things because I know I have a belief that it already exists. Now, does that taint my mind when I look for things? I could easily come out believing that there's nothing out there if I never got any evidence. But I get evidence all the time. Hey, Roy. I see somebody saying hi, Roy. Roy Palvido. Good to see you, brother. Nice to have you here. Angels and Demons, says Paige. So there's a difference between spirits and ghosts. We oftentimes use the words spirits and ghosts interchangeably. And I've always learned and leaned toward thinking a loving, kind motive is associated with spirits, while malevolent or haunting motives are associated with ghosts. One is a free agent, so to speak, and the other is locked or trapped. But if we get technical about it, that really isn't the case. What's their essence? Humans are manifestations of spiritual energy, while ghosts are manifestations of human energy. Ghosts are impressions in space and time. They're an image that is unlikely to interact with you, while spirits are the souls of humans and other sentient beings, like animals who've passed on. Spirits can interact with you in the physical environment they choose to do so in. Ghosts are oftentimes unaware they're ghosts, while spirits tend to be aware and active, knowing what they are. So I'd argue that ghosts don't have consciousness, while spirits do. And that could be one of the main differences. Now, this is all theoretical. This is speculative. But because of this, that's, I think, why ghosts are stuck while spirits are free. Have you ever communicated with something via a spirit box? And I will get many times, you'll get, I was talking about the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, where the man froze to death and security found his body in the upstairs in one of the buildings. He had just a week or two before the festival opened in August, when it's hot. And they had gone up there. They looked through all the buildings before the festival starts. And they found this guy who obviously froze to death upstairs during the winter, trying to seek shelter there. And we went out with a spirit box, just a handful of us, 3 or 4 of us, late at night. And we stood in front of that building and we asked, and we didn't go inside because it was all sealed up for the season already. This was back in October. And we asked if the man who died upstairs in this building was around. And a female voice came through the spirit box and said, "Haunted." Just like that. Who's listening? Who knows what I'm saying? Is it my mind creating the sound coming out of the box? Haunted. And then a male voice said, and I said, I said to somebody, I said, "Haunted, you heard that?" And I said, did you die here? And the man's voice said, or I said something like, "Could I talk to the man who died here in the winter? Did you freeze to death here?" And the voice came back and said, "Freezing," or "I'm freezing." And so that was very interesting, very telling stuff. Is that interactive? Are they trapped in time? Is that a ghost? Now, on the contrary, when I had a contact with my aunt who had passed on, very happy. She wasn't in the house or anything. A psychic friend of mine called her up without me asking for her, by the way. You've heard this story before, some of you, but I wasn't looking to speak to my aunt. And he says, "I've got a woman here that's just bouncing around, happy, like she's dancing. She wants to talk to you." He described her. It was a physical description of my aunt. And short and lean and red hair and so on. And she said to me in a contact I had, it went like this. She said, and I heard these words. This wasn't with the psychic. This was a different time. And she said, this is the earliest contact, a couple of weeks, few months after her death. And she said, I think I died. Just like that. And then she said, "Oh, yeah, I died." She says, "I died, but I'm here. I'm alive. I'm good. I'm okay. And I just wanted to let you know I love you." Boom. End of contact. happy ghost or spirit? Spirits and ghosts can look similar in appearance, and if you can even see them, sometimes as they appear as apparitions. But I don't believe I've ever actually seen a real ghost or an apparition of energy. I've caught some on cameras, but I haven't seen one eye to eye. I hear people tell stories, and there was the man. He was standing there, he had a top hat on, and he was right there between the fireplace and the easy chair, and he stood there, and I said, hello? And he said, hello, and vanished. Now, I've never had an experience like that. The physical manifestation of something. But I do believe that I've experienced massive amounts of energy in moments of maybe initial grief, heartache, that absolutely left an imprint in space and time. And I believe this can happen with anyone, alive or dead. And I do believe that I'm in the presence of spirits regularly. Maybe many of us are, and we don't realize it, or we don't even think about it. And when I am, the energy feels light, more tingly, more loving, if you will. Although I typically can't see him. And when I do, it looks like extremely faint, misty light. And I have to go, am I seeing something or not? That's why I say I don't think I've ever seen one. It's only, is there a transparent silhouette? No, I haven't even seen that. But I think my eyes are playing tricks on me. This is rare, but it's happened to me. I felt deep, full-body chills and a breeze under the covers while lying in bed that goes from my toes to the top of my head. I had the blankets pulled off of us one night. I told you all that story. I even showed you the blanket. Big, heavy suede, soft kit suede and pile lining and all that. They make sounds. You hear things. In my house, they've broken knives. They've broken things in the house. They've moved things around. Can spirits be good and bad? Short answer is yeah. Spirit can be good and or bad. Depends on what kind of spirit you're facing. Maybe we'll talk about that more in the captain's cabin because we're almost at the end of the show here. Got about 20 seconds and we got to get out for the radio. You got to accept both sides of a spirit. So, folks over on the radio station, I want to thank you for being here. Come on over to the YouTube channel, and we'll continue discussing this in the captain's cabin, our post show. And in the meantime, I want all of you out there on radio, live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Well, welcome back to the captain's cabin, folks. And if you haven't gone yet already, George Abril, welcome to the program. I don't see you here very much. You might listen quite a bit, but I don't see you pop into the chat room. Thank you, by the way. And so everybody who's here that snuck in while I was talking a mile a minute, trying to get through my material, which I didn't anyway. Welcome. Elvis, good to see you. Elvis. And I can't do Elvis, so I just sound stupid doing that. But anyway, Elvis is in the building. Paige Rockwell's soiree. Susie Q, still good to see you. And Field Guy. Chuck Thurston, of course. Chuck says, I lived in a haunted house and visited a lot of haunted location. Seen plenty of ghosts. Yeah, and you know what? It's not all explained away by electromagnetic activity, is it? It's not. I think, Chuck, you're probably a lot like me. I think you probably feel you have a pretty good grasp on your brain. And you know what? My brain is not one that I don't think I fool myself all that much, to tell you the truth. So, one of my lights I did not turn on. Maybe that's why I feel like I've got light shining on my chin, but not the rest of my face. So maybe that's helpful. How's that? Yeah, that helps a little bit. All right. And so maybe it's better with the lights off. Yeah, I'll do radio with you, but turn the lights off. Hey, Field Guy's here. Hey, Field Guy.
Greetings and salutations, chat. And Scotty,
how you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I missed the first half of your show because I was doing a live stream, but I'm gonna go back and watch it.
So you drew listeners away from my show to listen to your
no,
live stream.
No, they were all here. No, I actually brought you Mayhem. She was here for a second.
Oh, right. Oh, who came in? Oh, Mayhem. I saw her and I wasn't sure if I knew who that was or not.
Yeah, she comes on my stream. Yeah, well, what I did was I saw you alive and I dropped my link in your chat and I said, I only had 2 people. And I said, all right, I'm going over here. It's ghost night.
I'm just pulling your leg anyway. So it's good to have you here. And Magic and Mayhem, if you're still here, it was nice having you here. Somebody new.
She might still be here, Masha. That's what they call her. She might still be here. You know.
So you know what I got to do? I still have to, and I just haven't had the time to do it. But I've got to mount those theater lights I've got down here that Uncle Dave gave me. I'm going to put them up in the beams up here, so I have theater lights. I can do. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 of them with the barn door windows on them. You know, the black canister lights. Yeah. So I'm going to hang those all up. We'll get some color tints that add a little texture to the light in here, and get those lights going a little better. Right now, it's shining on my back wall. I just do it so you can see my face, and I don't look too washed out. So
I never have enough light. I only have one light bulb.
Yeah,
because I'm cheap.
Get one of those little ring lights. Get a ring light and clip it onto your desk, and it'll shine on you.
I have a desk over there, but it's got stuff on it.
Oh, wherever you got your laptop.
On my bed.
Oh, on your bed. Okay.
That's what I'm sitting.
It goes like this. Your water bed.
It could be. No, I have a desk over there where I used to put my old monitor at, but I got a bunch of stuff on it right now.
Sean Stroik, welcome to the chat room, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, I stopped streaming because Elvis showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, Elvis is here.
YouTube doesn't notify people. I'm That's like, weird. Okay, No, I told Elvis, I said, I'll wait till Steph comes in. And then I got bored and I said, Elvis, I'm going to Scotty. See you.
Yeah. So one of these days when I get a little more time, we'll get a little, I want to get a little different arrangement set up for this show. We'll see what happens. So just so it's easier to get to that, I've got better equipment and lighting. I have to upgrade my camera. My microphone is okay, but this baby's old, man. I've had this since I started doing Intrepid Radio with John Ward back in like 2013. So this mic's 10 years old. And so I could use an update in my mics. I do need a new camera because I use the camera that's built into my computer here.
That's the one I'm using.
And it's starting to get fuzzy. You look fuzzy. I look fuzzy too.
Yeah. Well,
it's something that's got a little more high resolution to it.
It's a Chromebook, so
okay.
It's Google's own design.
I do need a backlight, Elvis. See, that's what I don't know if you can see it if I tip this up. Yeah, you see the big
it's a blue light
up there. That's supposed to be shining down and giving some backlighting. Well, it's not really working all that well. And then this shines on the stuff. Well, let's see what's shining on the wall behind me. Which light is it? It's that one up there.
Yeah, maybe that makes me brighter. I put the light up. I don't know if it makes
me got bright lights that I turn off. I got big white lights up above me. But we need to do something that looks a little nicer, a little more theatrical. And so we'll get to that.
Just have raining in the background. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's not raining right there. Where is it?
Yeah.
You're talking about the statue? The old Assyrian statue with no head or arms? So
I'm waiting for this bad weather to come in. They said for the last 2 days, hail, winds, rain, lightning, thunder.
Nice.
Waiting for it for 2 days. They said,
baby.
It's supposed to come. I told people, if you don't hear from me again, the hurricane did it. Hi, Paige.
There it is. So, yeah, cheers, Sean. Yeah, we had the blizzard last weekend. It was this show last Friday, which I happen to be wearing the same shirt even. I was going through because it was I copy the text to certain things and copy it over, and I saw that show come up. When I did that, when I was copying titles and stuff, it's just easier to do that and retype it all. And I'm wearing the same shirt, but I was saying the snow's moving in, and we had almost a foot of snow overnight. And Saturdays, it was cold, it was blustery, but by I think it was Saturday afternoon, the sun was shining. There was just a foot of snow on the ground. And but this time of year, we know it's going to melt in a day or two. Sure enough, that was Saturday. By Monday, more than half of it was gone. It was already melted off my driveway, which is pretty cool. And today we were around 50 degrees. It was a little cool earlier in this week. But tomorrow and Sunday, we're supposed to be in the mid-60s. A week after the foot blizzard. Foot deep blizzard. And then by Monday and Tuesday, we're in the mid-70s. By Wednesday, the prediction is we're within a couple degrees of 80. So there you go.
Wait a minute.
I don't know what you're trying to show me, but that's...
I'm trying to block out the city.
The what?
But anyway... It's
so
not
showing me like this. That never works to hold it like that.
I can't do it.
See?
73, 76 next week. 86, 86, 86, 87.
Nice. You're warm down there. You're in the South. What do you expect?
Yeah. It's 67 right now, but it's like 92% humidity.
All right.
So that's why I don't snow.
My eyes are burning.
I'm not used to this type of phone still. I'm trying to hold it like that, and then I don't want to give away my location.
Oh, your location. Well, you're in Louisiana.
I know that. But this brings up the city.
Oh, okay. Why? What city are you in?
The city. The city I live in.
So, grass is greening up, says Anita Palmer. Daffodils are up and buds on the lilac bush. Predicting 80 on Thursday. Very nice, Anita. Yeah, it's going to be nice here this week. Oh, and it says when it's hitting 75, 76, 78 degrees this next week, it says sunny. Not even partly cloudy. All those days. It's going to be sunny and warm and bright. That's going to be nice. And I'm going to go work on my tan.
It's been cloudy and windy here the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They said it was supposed to rain the last 3 days, and of course it didn't. So
that's not French, says Paige. What are you responding to?
I'll speak French.
Oh, Nazdorovi?
Which French? Cajun French or regular French?
Cajun and regular.
It's all the same thing. Les Borons. No, let me see. I could always misspell that word. Les Borons today. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Let the good times roll.
Come and talk like that, and you're going to go down. Man.
That's Boomhauer. They don't say my mom. I don't say
there it is. And it's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
You speak English down here.
Oh, I did that today to a person. They were speaking Spanish, and they went, Ocho. I said, that's not English. I said, what the hell? This ain't Mexico.
Sarah says this hot cold has already killed the buds here. Oh, that's not a good thing. Thong free here, says Paige Soiree.
Sure, why not?
You're thong free?
We'll go with that.
Give that a hearty thumbs up.
Yes. So
what's the news story? She's having a conversation with somebody else, I think. I'm just gleaning bits and pieces here.
I haven't went back and watched
my flip-flops, says Anita.
I haven't went back and watched the replay from Tuesday yet, but what's any developments on the Rainey show?
She's supposed to be working on that with Wendy. And so I don't know exactly what they're doing yet. So I think
I'm interested in watching that. I just want to know what it's about, you know.
Oh, you'll watch it. You know you'll watch it.
I don't care what they talk about. They could be talking about the mud, and I'll just be like, thumbs up.
I'd be happy to be there.
Sure, why not?
So
it's all good.
But
barefoot.
So I don't know.
You know, barefoot's the name of a wine.
Is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that.
I used to stock liquor.
Barefoot and all.
I know all
free and barefoot. Thongs. You're talking about flip-flop thongs, or are you talking about thong undies? I'm a little lost on that one, Paige. So you're wearing no underwear and you're barefoot. Well, okay. Spring has sprung.
Is there such thing as a spring? Because I don't know.
And we're only 3 weeks from May. So.
Crap. 100-degree weather. Here we come.
Yeah, there it is. See, I don't like your neck of the woods because it's just too damn humid for me. I don't mind it being warm. Warm's not a problem for me. But I do mind it being humid. Humid drives me nuts. It's just a little too... I don't like walking out and it's sticky and my clothes stick to my back, and I don't like that kind of thing.
I'm honestly quite used to it, but it sucks. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Sarah Yusuf is asking, has anyone got any interesting ghost stories? You know, I tell a lot of mine. Uncle Dave tells his
ghost stories. I think I've said mine already. I don't know.
People come on and tell their ghost stories. Anybody got anything else interesting?
Ghost stories. Yes. I plan on going back to the Myrtles plantation and getting Chloe on video.
All right. Well, I hope you do.
That's what I want to do.
If you do.
Because they have a thing, it's a bed and breakfast where if you go in supposedly the guy that got murdered, he strangles people or he wakes them up or something like that. They say if you stay the night, it's free, but most people don't stay the night because it's the where he died, the same bed. Because the story is Chloe was a slave and she poisoned. She didn't try to poison him. It's like she was falling out of favor. She was in the house and they sent her to wherever, and she wanted to get back in good graces. So one of the kids, it was a small girl, and it was a kid, a boy and a girl, and she made a cake and she put oleander leaves in it, which is poisonous. She put too much, so they all ate the cake. The husband, the wife, the kids, they all died. So they found her, Chloe, the slave, and they strung her up on the property under a moss tree. And supposedly she haunts it outside. And then the father, he was a judge. He supposedly has a thing in his room where he chokes people or something, or he, and then the kids, they're heard roaming the halls. But it's on the way to my aunt's house. It's halfway between my house and Doug's house.
Okay.
Going that way. It's in St. Francisville. You used to have to cross the ferry, but now they built a bridge. But Yeah.
Chief. Hey, Romeldian.
Yeah, I do have one story that I'm not sure if it's a ghost story or if it's a past life trauma thing. Cause I did a reading with a psychic once, and I wanted to know where the best location to move is. And I brought up Hawaii with 3 different people. One was a psychic, one was the tarot reader, and another was a astrologer. 3 different mediums.
And they all said Hawaii?
Yep. Maui.
What are you doing here then?
No, I wanted to move there.
Oh, okay.
And guess what they all said? The answer was no. I'm like, that's weird. And they all happened within 3 months apart of each other.
I'm not sure if that's too weird, though. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to have 3 different mediums of a sort, all giving you the same information, and they're not connected?
All agree
they're all telling you, no,
that's
not a good move for you. So
I'm like, is that predetermined, or that? How would you describe that as?
I think it might be the way I see energies like that. They're reading the energies around you that exist. Like if I did a tarot reading, I think it's reading for the energy that's going on right now in your present. And it might have been you got these 3 people that are just saying in that period of time, probably not a good choice for you to make, is probably what was happening. You're probably getting that kind of read that says maybe not a good move for you, or maybe not a thing to do right now, or maybe you're not prepared for it, all from different perspectives.
Because one mentioned a past life trauma, and the astrologer mentioned it'll be more of not like blissful working, but more like the kind of work that you don't want to do. Not the enjoyment work. It's more like working at company that you're not happy at.
Yeah.
Instead of doing like what you really want to do.
Sure.
Where you feel at peace and you feel at bliss.
Well, I can tell you what, there's a lot of people that haven't learned to find peace with what they're doing.
True.
I get that part. I'll bet you there's a vaster majority of people that aren't satisfied with where they're working because they look at it as work and it takes up their time, and field guy being one of them.
It sucks. So, pardon my language.
There's certain things that do. I mean, that's why they call it work and not play. I'm going to play today. It's work because it's effort to you got to make the ends meet, and you got to do what you got to do. And it's boring sometimes. It's pain in the ass sometimes. But if you can work and find the thing that fulfills you, you're more rare amongst people than you think. So
I should be a social influencer, like all these people on media platforms.
You should be.
They sit there and they go, "Hey, buy this crap." Why can't I do that?
Because you got to be dressed skimpily and have people like the way you look that way, and then
I'm the wrong gender, also.
Yeah. Well, you can change that,
Oh yeah, why not? I could be what do they call those 187 genders out there?
I saw a little clip from Ben Shapiro, who I like, very intelligent, logical man, and he was speaking to an audience, and somebody was heckling him, and they were giving him crap about his stance on transgenderism, and he was giving his just blunt, straightforward, no, I don't believe you can be a woman. He says, if you're biologically a man. Oh, we lost Romeldian. And I'm trying to remember exactly what I heard. I think she was a paramedic. And he said something to her. He said, so you're a paramedic. He says, let's say you're treating a patient who is trans. They claim they're a woman, and they claim that they believe they've had a miscarriage. But you start examining them and find out he has a penis and doesn't have a womb. And you say, well, I think I found the problem that you're having. The problem is something else. And I said, so I see, he said, you as a paramedic, an EMT, how would you define what sex that person is? Well, it depends on what they choose. He says, no, they're a man because they have male physical junk. That makes them a man. And then he says, let's look at this another way. He said, you're nowhere near 60. I can tell by looking at you. He says, you're probably in your late 20s. He says, but can you identify as somebody who's 60 years old? You're now 60 years old because you want to be. Well, no. He said, does that make you 60? She said, no. And she didn't want to answer his question, of course, because it was too obvious what he was leading her into. And he said, so you can identify as anything you want to be. That's your choice. More power to you. Be happy. But that doesn't change who you are. Just like you can go down and say, I want to be 60 years old, and I identify as a 60-year-old. And he said, it doesn't change your age, does it? So, anyway.
I identify as a rich person, but I'm not rich.
Yeah. Same here.
It's like that. It's like that. That stupid thing someone told me. I probably mentioned it before, but someone told me that
Sean was at the New Zealand president.
They got this stupid thing where these teenagers in the high schools pretend they're cats, and they go to the bathroom with the kitty boxes,
furries.
And I'm like, are you serious? They identify as cats. Now, I'm like, this generation is just, I'm sorry, they're screwed. And I found this out because people tell me this, and I go, really? So the first thing I'd do is I'd shock them. I'd get electric shock treatment on their asses. I'd say, what the hell is wrong with you people? You're a human being. You're not a cat. I'm sorry. Like, they're taking it way too much. I don't know what the hell pansexual, transsexual, dogs. I don't know what it is. There's two genders, male and female. Identify with one or just be an alien. I mean, I don't get it. You know?
I don't either.
I wish I did.
It's because, I've got opinions. This show isn't about that topic, but since we're talking about it, I think, I think it's anything. How do I want to say this? It's gymnastics of the imagination. Somebody said, I always wanted to be this, and now I've got a movement that will help support me in doing this. And that's what they end up doing. It's, and I'm not speaking to it, so I haven't articulated my thoughts on this, but they end up saying, well, we're in a political atmosphere in our country where we can do this now, and we can make ourselves acceptable. And that's the only reason they proliferate it and keep going with it. Because it still doesn't make any sense, and it still doesn't work scientifically. And you know what? My brain's on a low ebb this evening, so I'm not articulating very well, but you get my thought. I've articulated on this many other times. So,
yeah. But I wonder if any living people identify as being a ghost. That would be very interesting. Oh, I'm really a ghost because you don't see me.
Probably.
Maybe that's the golf people.
What about the woman who married the ghost? So,
the ghost in Mrs. Muir?
No. Somebody in the news last couple of years married a ghost.
Huh. Well, I guess that's okay. There's no law against it.
Was
better than marrying a dog or a tree
at the wedding? I don't know. So
there's a lady that married a tree. So she's like, I love nature. I'm gonna marry a tree.
Go right ahead.
I don't know. That's fine with me. I wonder what happens when a tree turned into a house. So I don't know.
I think it's a convolution of logic. There's a lot of it. It just doesn't make any sense. And for me, I don't care. If you want to, you can be anything you want to believe you're anything you want to believe you are. Doesn't change who you are. You can believe it though. More power to you. Go have fun with life. If that's what makes you happy and turns you crank, then do it. Just don't push it on me politically. I don't have to accept that. It's a choice. So, anyway, there's a whole lot more to that, and we'll do that another time. I remember seeing that, Scotty. Yeah, exactly, Steph. So, yeah, it's a good clip. And I am finding that my brain is fading faster than I want it to. We've been a half an hour in the captain's cabin, and I'm running out of juice, folks. It's been a long day. Fieldy, I think since we don't have a whole lot going in here tonight, we're just kind of making it up as we go. We're going to cut this off a little early tonight because my eyes are getting heavy and my brain
That
is
happened to me
fogging
one
up.
day last week when I was streaming. I almost fell asleep on the stream. It happens.
Well, I haven't fallen asleep on the stream. I've listened to people talking on my stream, and I felt like I'm gonna nod off here. Not because their content is bad, but because I'm not doing the action, and so I'm just sitting back and listening, and I'm like, oh boy. So I think, folks, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna call it a night tonight. It's now 10:26 p.m. Central Time, and well, thank you, Barbie D. Even with the inauspicious quick ending to the show tonight, I appreciate it.
It was an awesome show. I have to go back and watch the first 30 minutes. But
all right.
Hey, go thumbs up, like the show, leave a good comment.
There it is.
Go watch the other shows you missed in the past. Support the channel.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill Guy.
And donate if you want.
There it is. Donate if you want. There is a donate button. If you go out to my main page on this channel, there's a little donate thing up in the corner somewhere. And you can click on that. It's on the header, I think. You go out to my main YouTube page. It's on the header on the right somewhere.
'Tis always good.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Field Guy, I'm going to let you go. You have
Bye,
a good
Chad.
night, brother.
Thanks,
you have a good night down there and all that, blah, blah, blah.
Who that?
See, I can't even make fun very well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
No brain left. See ya. All right, folks. Boo Steffi. Boo Steph. What did Steph say? Where'd she go? Where'd you go? I don't know. Susie Q, good to see you tonight. Sarah Yusuf, good to see you. Everybody else, thank you for coming on in and sharing your time with me. It means a lot to me. I appreciate that more than you can know. So let's get out of here, and I'll see you on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. All of you, live long and prosper. Oops and oops. I just pushed the wrong button. That's all. Here we go. We're getting out of here now. Trust me.